Hello and welcome to Star Citizen Sunday. This is a weekly show which covers all the news from Star Citizen from the week just past. I am your host Mac, so let's get on with it. This week, Alpha 3.9 goes into evocati testing, CIG addressed the lack of Squadron 42 content and gives us an update on its current state, plus we check out the interior of the Esperia Prowler. So before we begin, I would just like to thank and welcome Sorston, who has become my latest patron. Thank you so much for the support. It is all very much appreciated. If you do enjoy my content and find it useful, please consider becoming a patron or channel member. It really helps me to get videos like this done. All of the links are below. So a quick update on Alpha 3.9. It was released to the evocati group a couple of days ago, with focus being on new Babbage, Microtech and its moons, and the player interaction system. This build was only intended for a short time, and as the patch notes stated, it was taken down after about 5 to 6 hours. From what I've heard and seen on the Star Citizen's Leaks Discord, it is a typical first evocati build with plenty of 30Ks, but as more releases come out, the smoother it will get. New Babbage is looking very cool, and I'm expecting more Evo releases this next week, so be sure to keep an eye out on my channel as I cover all the leaks as they happen. On that note though, I will be away camping from Thursday to Sunday, so Star Citizen Sunday will likely come out on either the Monday or the Tuesday. So on Inside Star Citizen this week, they kicked off by looking at consumables. In 3.9, we can buy these consumables and equip them to the mining laser head sub-item slots. Now each head has a varying quantity of slots. Some of them may not have any slots if it's a really cheap head, but the Helix 1, for example, has 3 slots. Once equipped, you can then activate them as and when you need them. To activate them, you can actually use the dashboard on the Prospector, which is quite nice, but I would expect that we will get the option to bind them to a key of choice. But seeing them on the dashboard I think would be cool, especially when they start bringing in other systems, hooking them up to the dashboard and having a fully working dashboard. Anyway, once you've activated them, you'll see a difference in the laser and it will change certain parameters. For example, increasing the charge level of the laser by 30% for a few seconds, or maybe decreasing the resistance for 30 seconds, along with other debuffs and buffs. It'll have a lot of variations. Once activated, there will be visual and audible differences letting you know that that consumable is active. Now for the mole, each seat on the mole can equip consumables if the head allows it, so you could have a lot of potential for various combinations. And of course, if the mole has 3 Helix 1s, that's up to 9 consumables that you can have on board. Now personally, I would love to know if we will be able to eventually swap them out on the fly like we can components, maybe having a stash of various consumables in the back in a box and swapping them as and when you need them, depending on the rock that you're trying to mine. I think that would be very cool, but for 3.9, it's likely just going to be through the mobiGlas while your ship is stowed away. To finish off the Inside Star Citizen this week, we got a tour of the interior of the Esperia Prowler, which is coming in Alpha 3.9, and a quick heads up, CIG will be giving me a Prowler game package to give away. This is going to happen once 3.9 goes to live, so be sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on that one. Also, follow me over on twitch.tv/supermacbrothers These may be prerequisites. The Prowler is the first Tavarian ship that we will have in the game and is an armoured dropship, which allows for up to 16 troops to deploy. We got to see the interior, as I say, but I have done a complete separate video on the Prowler talking about what they showed us in more detail, so I have linked that in the description below. So this week, instead of Star Citizen Live, we had a brand new Calling All Devs, in which Jared called around all the studios trying to find answers to our questions. This week's show was completely dedicated to Squadron 42, as the most common question revolved around this, so let us see what was said. So firstly, they realised that the roadmap method currently used is not viable for a story-driven chapter-based AAA game that Squadron 42 is, so they're looking into better ways to keep us up to date with Squadron without revealing spoilers. Basically, they will include Squadron updates in Inside Star Citizen sprint reports, AMAs, future Calling All Devs monthly reports, and so on and so forth. So do expect to see more information on Squadron 42 going forwards. Now in terms of Squadron itself, great progress is being made every day. We just don't see it, obviously, because they can't really show us. And they actually hold weekly progress reviews. Most disciplines, as we have heard in the past, are divided into 3 groups. We have FPS, Flight, and Social. All of the teams do work together and intertwine with one another both Squadron 42 and the PU is developed in tandem, and they said that what we see in terms of flight and AI and so on feel the same across both games, which helps them as they gather our feedback now, and then that goes into the Squadron 42 build, making sure that as we get closer to completion, it all feels right. Now, they did say it's not quite where they want it, but they are making progress every day and getting even closer to where they want it to be. Now, as you probably know, Squadron 42 contains heavily narrative scenes, which really drives the story. They are trying to achieve a level of immersion which you just don't get from games today. It plays as if you are an actual person in the room engaging with NPCs, and for example, while in a conversation with an NPC, you'll have the option to abandon it, you can walk away or rejoin, and it actually feels as though you are really there and taking part in the scenes. If you do wander off in the middle of a conversation to an NPC, they will likely react to you, and over time, if you continually do this, they will maybe be rude back to you. It's all about building those relationships and feeling like a part of the crew. Now, something which they've recently worked on is the female player performance capture, so it is not just a simple voiceover, it is a fully integrated performance, which means that if you play through as a female instead of a male, you will see slight differences in nuance and so on. So the AI is also the same as the PU and Squadron. Major focus currently is split between the social, the flight, and the combat. The social team are currently working on the usable system, which is improving the pipeline to allow designers to construct new behaviors, new content, and other aspects very quickly and help speed up the dev time. Ships and flight have been a huge focus as well, working on this 3D pathfinding system which allows AI to navigate all the environments properly. This system was actually released with 3.8, but there are more updates coming in 3.9. Now, they do not use classical techniques for guiding the AI. Instead, they're actually using signed distance fields to calculate which objects are near to which part of the ship, and then find the best approach to reach whatever the location is they're heading to. Now, this is very impressive. This signed distance field is an incredible piece of tech, which has some very cool uses, like we've heard with the new shields, atmospheric entry, and likely atmospheric flight itself. Now they're using it to aid pathfinding as well. Very clever. Now, they say this is a major improvement and will really help in Squadron 42 for when maybe a ship is leading another ship, or the player is leading or being led by another ship, and so on. So it has a lot of benefits. Next up was Sps Combat Behaviors, which they are making modular. This means that there are different tactics which can be used to handle different weapons in various ways, depending on the skill level of the AI, amongst other factors. The cover generation system is a big focus for the AI. This allows the AI to find the best and safest cover as they try and get closer to a player, again based on their abilities. The perception system for AI is getting worked on. They are using the room system, which will help the AI to figure out where the player is via audible and visual cues. Now, you've probably heard about the Bartender, which has been mentioned a few times over this last year. This doesn't mean that CIG are just obsessing on getting someone to serve us drinks in a bar. It is a test case to show how all of the vendors are going to work in the game, regardless of what their role is and where they are located. Vendors will be found in Squadron and the PU, differences being their attitude, their skills, and personalities. So, for example, some vendors may ask you what you want, others might not and just wait for you to interact with them. Other vendors may take an item back that you've been looking at before offering you another one, some of them won't, so they're going to vary a lot, instead of just being static like we see with most games. The bartenders themselves have complex environments, which will allow them to completely create drinks from scratch or interact with objects around them. This system allows all of this and will apply to all the vendors around the PU and Squadron, which is pretty much why it's taking them so long. Now, at the end of last year, we saw a Squadron 42 visual update. Basically, they wanted to do something to close out the year, mostly for the developers, just so that they could keep them motivated for next year. What they did is they went through the year of all the data and visuals that have been created and cut them together. It was actually 10 minutes long, but because Chris said he wanted to show it to us, they had to cut out all of the spoilers, which reduced it to about 3 minutes, I think it was. Now, what we saw wasn't finished. In fact, the video's visual quality was about 40% complete, which is pretty insane when it even looked amazing in that state. So they still have a lot to do visually. The video, though, does show how diverse the game and the environment will be. they did say you certainly won't suffer from visual fatigue. Now, since that update, the visuals have been ramped up. It's really starting to come together, they say, and during a recent 6-hour review of Squadron 42 with Chris Roberts, the game only crashed once, which is pretty unheard of at this point in development because they don't really spend much time on optimization. But it was all running great, the NPCs were working, you could have full-on conversations with them, all the while floating around an environment like the system in an Idris. Now, there is lots of stuff still in development, like planetside locations, stations, ships and other races as well. Lots of cool stuff being put together for CitizenCon, but nothing specific was mentioned. We did, however, get to see a little bit of footage, which involved a station, which is a communication station being decommissioned and repurposed, which is part of the Squadron 42 campaign. Now, they did say that shadows are not sorted yet, so that's why they look a bit glitchy, but this station has its own power, its own communications. The things in it need to function correctly, and we saw in the comms center room on the dark side, that is the area being shut down. The other side is still operational. It is a fully working station, and it looks just amazing. Anyway, that was the Calling All Devs on Squadron 42. Some great information there, and I really appreciate Jared and the devs taking the time out to get all that to us. Hopefully we get more updates on Squadron as the weeks and months pass. I do feel like this year things are really starting to come together with all this back-end tech getting close to completion. Be sure to let me know your thoughts, and let's move on. So that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and share the video with all your friends. If you like what I do and want to help me make it better, follow the link below to my Patreon page to learn more.